What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share the video. Hit the join button and become a member. Why? Well, members get exclusive content. Hit the bell icon on my channel so that you'll receive a notification every time that I drop a video, and you can go and check the video out. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Let's get into it. And this story takes us to Lancaster State Prison, where the OG homie resided at this time. This transpired some time ago, like in 1995, 1994, 1996. I was in Lancaster State Prison in 1996. I paroled from there June 21st of 1996. I was there with Crow from Shotgun. The big homie Hola Ray was up there. Pup was up there. Leprechaun. Big Puppet from 107, rest in peace. He was up there. My ace Boone Capone. We was together up there on the yard. But at this time, I was not there. But the homie from Five Deuce, he was there, and he too is an OG. A very big dude, dark skin with braids. He's much bigger than myself, not as tall as I am, but certainly much more bigger, much more big in stature, has much more weight than myself. And it's not fat or all fat. Essentially, he's swole. You would say stocky, perhaps, but he's a humongous dude, had humongous arms. This is what he was known for there on the yard. Here on the yard with him, again, is the one referred to, as I told you just yesterday, as the Hoover General. He was pretty much referred to that even back then, certainly now. Some people will dispute this. It gets a little deep. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not even going to mention his name. If you know, you know. And you should know. Most of you know exactly who it is that I'm speaking about. He was there. And again, back then and even now, he pushes a very hard line. As I just said, the boy from DL hit the yard in High Desert. And essentially, he was butchered, because he had Hoover blocked out, crossed out on his face somewhere, on his forehead or what have you. He sent a pack of wolves at him, and they had to airlift him out of there. He pushes a very hard line, even on Hoovers. In fact, as I've said, he was known, even at that time, for stabbing Hoovers and attacking them viciously if they got out of line. And here also, again, is a big homie from Five Deuce. He's pretty much an OG. He's an OG. He had been locked up for some time, and he was trying to get out. I ended up being in Corcoran with him in 1995. So this happened before 1995, because he was telling me about it in Corcoran. So this happened in 95 or in 94. And I didn't go to Lancaster until 1996. But the OG homie from Five Deuce and the so-called Hoover General, well, they got into it. Now, it's disputable as to what the conflict was about. The Hoover General said that the homie from Five Deuce was not warrior-like, that he was frolicking around the yard and playing too much with the opposition and with the police, that he was not being taken serious on the yard, and thus the car would not be taken serious, that he himself, the general, would not be taken serious. Well, this was just too much for him to bear. He wanted everyone to take him and the Hoovers very serious, because he was really, and is still really, about that life. So he had issued somewhat of a warning to, again, also an OG homie from 5 Deuce and told him, get your act together around here on the yard. Start working out, reading, writing, studying, and being taken seriously, and take yourself seriously, and take the car seriously, take this prison experience seriously. This is not a joke. This is not a game. Get your shit together. However, the OG homie, feeling like he was an OG, said, while he respected the man referred to as the general, he felt like he too had rank, he too had clout, and did not have to bow down or kowtow to anyone. When I spoke with him in Corcoran, he gave me a slightly different story. He said that the general was jealous of him, that he was the strongest person on the yard, and that everyone, for that reason, the biggest and strongest, was lifting the most weight on the weight pile. They did indeed have weights at this time. And that because of this, he was something like a mythical figure around the yard. A lot of folklore surrounding him because he was so big and strong, and his arms were so humongous. Something that most prisoners, most inmates aspire to. And that because he was getting all of this attention from the convicts and the police alike there on the yard, usurping, taking some of the attention away from the general, who was and is famous and wants the limelight for the most part, wants to be known as the number one man, and for the most part, whatever yard he hits, he is indeed that. And so the big homie from 5 Deuce said that he had done nothing wrong, that you're just upset and jealous that everyone is paying me all of this attention. You want all of the limelight, you want all of the shine, but I'm not going to dim my light so that you can shine brighter. I'm going to continue essentially doing what I've been doing. I'm doing nothing wrong. Well, that's a decision that he made, to speak to the person referred to as the general like that, and essentially say, you're going to continue to run your own program and no one is going to stop you. The general, well, clearly, he began to have machinations. These machinations were of a sinister sort, because not too long thereafter, he did in fact alert a couple of homies to what he was about to do, the general. He said that the OG homie from 5 Deuce was in violation, that he was transgressing against the rules and protocols by not adhering to what he had advised him of, that he needs to tighten up his program, work out, study, and stop joking around the yard with the police and other convicts from opposite hoods. Stick with your homies, work out with us, and you a big dude, be taken seriously, bro. Get your shit together. But again, the homie refutes this. He says that he was doing nothing wrong, that the big homie was just jealous because he was getting some of the shine. The big homie had told a couple of his closest comrades anyway, that he was about to make the homie from 5 Deuce pay, that he was about to learn a valuable lesson, and that is that he is the general and no one is going to have the gall to go against him on any of these prison yards. A couple of homies had pretty much offered, of course, to take care of the situation because this is the general. But he oftentimes gets his hands dirty himself. This is how he built his reputation. And Not long thereafter, a couple of days out there on the yard, all of the Hoovers were out there lifting weights on the weight pile. The OG homie from Five Deuce, he's a monster. And it was his turn to go down on the bench and bench press. And when he went down there to bench press, well, the general, he came out of nowhere because the OG homie from Five Deuce had not sensed the tension that was there. He should have. The tension was palpable. The anticipation was breathtaking. Everyone was looking around knowing that he had resisted this guy who was prone to violence, particularly as it relates to other Hoovers. When, again, they do something that he deems to be unbecoming. So people know that something is about to go awry. Something is about to go astray out here on the yard. The OG homie is out here acting like everything is cool. Like bygones are bygones, and whatever spat they had a couple of days ago, well, that was a couple of days ago. They have moved on. This is what he is believing. Not knowing, not understanding the gravity of the situation, not understanding the depths to which the so-called general will go to maintain his dominance, his reputation, and to further his reputation for being a violent individual that you do not want to double cross. So he goes down on the weight pile unwittingly and begins to bench press the iron. And surreptitiously, the so-called general, he appears, well, out of nowhere with a weight in his hand and hits the OG homie in the chest with the weight. He was clearly trying to hit him in the face. He was trying to hit him in the neck and crush it. He just happened to see him at the last moment and sort of moved out of the way, and the weight hit him in the chest. But it was still a big, heavy weight. And he was still debilitated and immobile for a moment. He couldn't move. He couldn't get up. That weight had hit him pretty hard. Apparently, he had lost his breath. And right about the time he was trying to come to, gather himself in his thoughts, and get up and get himself to safety, well, the general had produced a blade out of nowhere. And he then proceeded to stab the homie while he was still down there on the bench, hitting him right about the chest area. Clearly aiming, in my estimation, to unalive the homie. First, he tried to bust his whole face open with the weight. And then when he wasn't successful with that, he produced a blade and used it quickly, puncturing the homie's chest. He was down there leaking and bleeding. And luckily, the police got to him in time to rush him to the hospital where he stayed for some time. And the general, well, nothing ever came of it. He never went to the hole. He was never disciplined for stabbing a homie. None of that. Everyone pretty much went along with it and went along with him and said, oh, well, the homie had it coming. I guess for standing up to him or for saying that he wasn't doing anything wrong on the yard, and therefore that he had nothing to clean up. He did not accept that answer and said that he was going to show him that he was the number one guy and that was that. And he brutalized the homie. He injured him bad. it took the homie some time to recover from those injuries. I'll bring you some more about the Hoover General soon, and some of the other things that he's gotten into, including involving the homies. It's a whole lot to it, but it's only so much that I can get into. I have to be careful. I cannot expose too much about my section, about my faction, about my OG homies, about the people who are high in rank here on YouTube. So some names I'm not going to name, in some situations, I cannot go into great detail about. But I'll bring you enough so that you can understand yourself. You just have to connect the dots. And that's what happened there in Lancaster State Prison. The homie stood up to the so-called general, and he was attacked with a weight, a dumbbell of some sort, and then a knife. He survived the attack, but barely. It's hard to go against the Hoover General because, again, he has a proclivity for violence. I'll be back. And in the meantime, stay free, people.